What's going on, guys? Stefan, Joey, Emily, Maverick, Brantley, Kenzie, and Savannah here with you at S&E's Garage. And today we're going to be installing a 3.5-inch lift kit on this Jeep Gladiator. All right, guys, so what we went with here is the Rough Country 3.5-inch dual rate lift kit here. So you see we have all new shocks, we have a new adjustable front track bar, we have front and rear extended sway bar end links, we have our bump stop extenders here, and then you'll see we have front and rear springs. And again, they are dual rate, so you'll see the coils here are tighter and then they get looser, and that's going to kind of give you the best of both worlds. You're going to have a softer, smoother ride, and you're going to get the lift out of the suspension. So let's go ahead. We're going to start pulling the wheels off of this thing and start getting the baseline here. So it's a 22mm socket. We're just going to grab our impact gun, rip all the wheels off, and then we'll show you the next step. All right, guys, so we're going to start up here in the front. There's a couple of steps here. Ooh, some thunder. There's a couple of steps here that we need to do to go ahead and get this thing ready to drop. So the first thing that we're going to do is we went ahead and marked our drive shaft here. You'll see it right there. These are 15mm. We're going to go ahead and pull them off. And then we're going to bungee cord the drive shaft up and out of the way. That's going to allow us to drop this front suspension quite a bit so we can get the old springs out. And then we also need to do the same with the track bar. So that's going to be this bar here. We have a new adjustable, so we're going to go ahead and unbolt it from here and from the axle, remove it, and we are going to retain that hardware for future use. So let's go ahead and pull that drive shaft, get that track bar out, and we'll show you where we're at. All right, guys, so we went ahead and pulled the track bar out. You're going to need a 21mm socket and ratchet or impact gun, whatever your flavor is. There's going to be a nut and bolt here, and then a nut with a flag bolt here. It's going to look like this. It's a little nut with a tail on it to keep it from spinning. So now we're at a point where we can go ahead and prepare to drop the suspension. So there's a couple of things we need to do. First, you're going to want to set up a pull jack. We decided to set it up here right under the C of the axle. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this lower bolt here for the front sway bar end link. We're going to do the same on this side. That's going to allow this front axle to drop. And then we're going to go ahead and disconnect these shocks from the lower mounts here and here. So when we do this shock, we'll have the pull jack under here. And when we go ahead and switch to this side, we'll move the pull jack over. So let's go ahead and get these these sway bar end links out. So this is where you're going to be at once you get to this point. You'll see we have our springs out, our shocks are just hanging. You are going to want to pull your vent off for the diff, otherwise you're going to stretch that line. And then there's a harness here. This looks like it goes to the disconnect for the four-wheel drive. You're just going to want to unclip it from here and from the control arm. That way when you drop this, you're not yanking against the harness. This brake line's a little bit tight. We're probably going to have to... This got stuck under here. There we go, that's loose. So we're good there. Again, we took this bracket off, we're good there. Nothing's under some, any crazy tension. So now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna lower this down. We're gonna pull the upper shock bolts out, pull these shocks completely out, and then we can go ahead and take inventory, figure out which springs are for the front, and then we can get them in. You are gonna be reusing your factory isolators, so do keep that in mind. Make sure they are in decent shape and in place. Here's your upper, down here's your lower. So let's, like I said, let's lower her down and get the shocks out. Guys, what you're going to see here is we got the front coil spring in here. The one thing you're going to want to look out for is there is going to be a D stamped in the driver's side coil. So make sure you use that one for the driver's side. It's going to be right there in the top. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put the passenger side one in. You just want to make sure that you line up your isolators correctly. So the lower spring where it ends will sit right in here. The upper one doesn't really matter so much. Just make sure that your nipples are lined up with the nipples that are in the frame. So we're going to go ahead, lower this back down. We're going to get that driver or passenger side spring in, and then we can go ahead, put some tension on the axle and get the shocks in. Now, one thing you are going to want to do before putting your shocks in is go ahead and install the spacer cup here for the bump stop. This basically just keeps you from shoving the wheel up into the fender when you're articulating the suspension or anything like that. So we went ahead and installed this one. We are doing the passenger side now, and then we can go ahead and finish connecting our shocks. And then basically we're going to put everything back in the reverse order. We're going to go ahead and do the drive shaft. We're going to go ahead and set up our new track bar, and then we're going to go ahead and install our extended sway bar end links. All right, guys, next up, we're gonna go ahead and take out our sway bar end links. They want you to use a 6mm Allen key and then whatever size nut this is. I'm not doing that, it's gonna take too long. I'm gonna grab the back of this here with a vice grip. This is not being reused, so if you rip that boot, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm gonna zip that off with an impact gun, and then we'll go ahead and get the new ones. All right, guys, so we got the end links in, everything here is good. You're gonna use your factory hardware down at the bottom, and then the supplied hardware in the top out of this bag right here, 67730 bag 2. So that is installed. Now we're gonna go ahead and install the track bar. We're gonna leave the adjustment here loose because we need to be able to center the axle under the truck when we are done. So we're just gonna go ahead and set this up, get it in there, and then we will turn this turnbuckle here to either push the axle towards the passenger side or bring it back to the driver's side to set it under the truck when the truck's on the ground. All right, guys, the track bar is in. Everything right now is loose just for now because what we're gonna do, we're gonna lower this down with the wheels on it. We're gonna center the axle under the truck. You'll see this turnbuckle here is loose. That's what we're gonna use to center this axle under the truck. So we're just gonna go ahead, reconnect our front drive shaft, lower the truck down, get this thing centered, and then tighten everything down. All right, guys, I guess I should be up here. The front is all done. Once we do the back, like I said, we're gonna lower this. There's a couple of things we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to center the axle under the truck with the track bar. And then I went ahead and loosened this and lubricated it. That's going to allow us to center the steering wheel back under the truck. So what we need to do back here is to prepare to be able to drop this axle. We need to go ahead and remove the sway bar end links from the sway bar. So there, and on the other side, we need to remove this 21mm bolt through the track bar, get rid of that. We're gonna reuse it, so keep it off to the side. And then we need to take our calipers off, hang them up out of the way. We need to pull the wheel speed sensor, hang that out of the way, and then we can support the axle, unbolt the shocks, and lower it down to drop the springs. All right, we went ahead and pulled the end links out, 18mm, upper and lower. She's out. We're gonna go ahead and unbolt the caliper back here. It looks like that's also gonna be a 17 or an 18. Like I said, we'll hang it up out of the way. Let's do that on both sides. And then we can go ahead and start pulling the shocks. All right, caliper is off. Wheel speed sensor is out. It's up here somewhere. There it is, kind of just hanging out, tucked out of the way. So now we are ready to support the axle here and disconnect the shocks down here. And we can drop this axle and pull the springs. So to get this axle to drop enough to get your old springs out, you are gonna have to loosen these bolts here. It's a 21 bolt and then a 24 nut. Don't take them out, just loosen them, and then you can go ahead and pull the suspension down to drop it. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your isolators here, and you'll see this little nipple. You're gonna put it up there in the nipple, and then you'll see our white chalk mark. You're just gonna mark them, and then you're going to install the coil isolator with the end of the coil at that stop. So just like this. And now we can go ahead and lift these new coils into place, lining up our chalk mounts. All right, guys, what you're gonna see here is we got our springs back in. Again, we marked the isolators so we knew exactly where to put them. We got the shocks back in, and we got the track bar back in. What you're gonna do to get this track bar to line back up is you're gonna use a ratchet strap. You're gonna hook it here, and you're gonna hook it here. And you're gonna tighten that ratchet strap until this bolt lines up. In the directions, they tell you to do it with the truck on the ground, but there's no reason to do that. You can do it with it in the air using a ratchet strap, so we're good there. Now we're gonna go ahead and install our new sway bar links, and then we can go ahead and put the calipers back on, put the wheel speed sensors back on, and if you disconnected your vent tube, you can put that back on. We put ours back together already, and then we can lower the truck down and play with the front end, get the axle centered, straighten the steering wheel, and take her for a ride. All right, guys, and here's the end result. We finished up the rear. We basically reinstalled everything in the reverse order, tightened up all of our bushings, and we got the Jeep on the ground now. So the only thing you have to do now is adjust your track bar to center the front axle under the truck, which we've gone ahead and did. We basically pointed the wheels straight and measured from here to the frame on this side and on this side, and then we turned that turnbuckle right here until the axle was where we wanted it. And then we took it for a ride around the block to see where the steering wheel was at and made our adjustments at this turnbuckle right here until the wheel was straight, locked everything down, and we took it for a ride, and everything drives great. It drives straight, and the truck is sitting pretty. Now, I'm sure the front of this thing may settle just a little bit, because right now it's sitting a little nose high. So if we have to revisit the steering wheel or the track bar to straighten it out, we can still do that. But we're good to go. So if this video helped you, please like, share, subscribe. I'll leave this lift kit in the video description below. If you buy from that link, it does help us out. And I'll also leave some of the tools that we used as well. We'll see you on the next one.